Welcome back. Lots of news happening locally with the Concord handing down judgment on issues relating to independent candidates. Also, what's happening in Dubai is important for us. The conference on climate change continues today in the UAE. Minister Barbara Creecy will participate in a discussion on funding and the coal transition. For more, we cross live to SABC's international news editor, Sophie Mokoena in Dubai. Good afternoon to you, Sophie. And it looks like a warm Dubai. The just transition, of course, is the buzzword in South Africa. It's a critical issue. What are other countries saying on this matter at the meeting?
A very hot Dubai, particularly when you look at what's happening within different commissions and meetings of delegates. The issue of funding becoming a thorny issue. As you know, that there were commitments made earlier on in other conferences, and therefore the other countries that have made pledges haven't honored those commitments. But you are correct, the minister today focusing on the financing and just energy transition. Earlier on, he did have a word with those who are here from South Africa, particularly big business, at the South African pavilion, talking about the implementation of the just energy transition. You would recall that President Ramaphosa on Saturday gave the Secretary General of the United Nations that document that speaks to the implementation of the just energy transition. And the buzzword here is just. In other words, as you implement this, you must ensure that communities and workers are not affected. Perhaps let's take a listen at what the minister had to say when he was addressing business at the South African pavilion.
The concept of justice in this implementation plan is that those who are going to be affected by the transition must be directly consulted, not via, but as individuals who will be affected. Included in this plan is the idea that justice means that the alternatives can't be top-down, they must be co-created. And that when we talk about alternative livelihoods, those who will experience those livelihoods and enjoy those livelihoods must design them and benefit from them. Included in this plan is the idea of restorative justice, which means that if we're going to embark on a journey to achieving a green transition, that transition must help us with unemployment and poverty and inequality and energy security and all the things that South Africans want for a decent life. We must not have to choose between meeting climate objectives and meeting our sustainable development goals.
Thank you for bringing that to us, Sophie. Are the countries beginning to consolidate their positions on global stocktake?
Well, the countries are still far apart. You know that there's a hot debate around ensuring that the commitments are met. And therefore, I think because of the current economic challenges globally, countries couldn't do that. You know, there was a war in Ukraine. There's now a war in the Middle East. Who can forget the COVID-19? And therefore, you can see that developing countries, much as they talk about assisting poorer nations, it is very difficult to put aside finances or resources to help the poorer countries. And therefore, that debate is raging on. But earlier on, the president of COP, the United Arab Emirates, had to come up very strong in defense of how they have handled this COP, because people are saying that because you are in the Gulf region where oil is the main issue here, the organizers here have decided to put the issue of fossil fuels on the back burner, and therefore there are debates whether COP this time around, is it based on science or it is just to do what business is doing or what the big oil companies want. And you know that many of them are here and they've pledged money. But the question is, in terms of reducing the use of fossil fuel, is this country, the host nation, committed to that? And therefore, there are heated debate, I must say.
Yeah, a lot of vested interest in this. Thank you for covering COP28 for us, Sophie Mokoena, our international editor, still following those discussions today.